They say karma works in mysterious ways, but I never imagined it would arrive in the form of a phone call at 2 in the morning, with a police officer on the other end telling me my husband had been in a serious car accident. What the officer didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that I had been awake that entire night anyway, not because I was worried about my husband. No, I was awake because I had just discovered the truth, and that truth was burning through my chest like acid. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my perfect marriage turned into the biggest lie of my life, and how one terrible night changed everything. Before I go any further, I need you to do something for me. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to want to follow this story until the very end. Let me take you back to the beginning. 6 years ago, I married David Chen. He was handsome, successful, charming. A senior manager at a tech company, the kind of man who wore expensive suits and always smelled like cedar and ambition. Our wedding was beautiful. His mother, Linda, made sure of that. She planned every detail, chose my dress, selected the flowers, even edited our vows. I should have seen the red flags then, but I was young, in love, and honestly. I was flattered that someone from such a successful family wanted me. I came from a modest background. My parents ran a small bakery in the older part of town. The kind of place where the same customers came every morning for the same order, where my mother knew everyone's names and their children's names and what they liked on their birthday cakes. We weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy either. We lived comfortably, simply, honestly. David's family, on the other hand, had money, old money. The kind that came with expectations, reputations, and a lot of pressure to maintain appearances. Linda made it clear from day one that I was lucky to be joining their family. She never said it directly, of course. She was too sophisticated for that. Instead, it came through in small comments. Oh, you'll need to learn how to host properly now that you're a Chen. Or David could have married anyone, you know. He had so many options. Or my personal favorite, said with a tight smile at our engagement party, I just hope you can keep up with our lifestyle. And somewhere along the way, I started to believe her. I started to believe that I was the lucky one, that I had married up, that I needed to work every single day to deserve my place in their world. For the first few years, things seemed perfect. David worked long hours, but he was building his career. He was ambitious, driven, always chasing the next promotion, the next big deal. I worked as a graphic designer from home, which Linda loved because it meant I had a flexible schedule. What she really meant was that I could drop everything whenever she needed me. I hosted her book club friends for tea. I attended charity luncheons where women wore pearls and talked about their vacation homes. I accompanied her to gallery openings and fundraisers where I smiled until my face hurt. I decorated our beautiful 4-bedroom house in the suburbs exactly the way Linda suggested. Neutral colors, expensive furniture, everything tasteful, nothing too bold or personal. I learned to make David's favorite meals. I kept myself in shape. I got my hair done at the salon Linda recommended. I wore the clothes she said were appropriate for a woman in your position. I played my part perfectly. I was the daughter-in-law she could show off, the wife who made her son look good. But perfection is exhausting. And perfection, I learned, is usually a mask covering something rotten underneath. The cracks started showing about 8 months ago. Small things at first, the kind of things you tell yourself you're imagining because you don't want to face what they might mean. David would silence his phone when I walked into the room, his hand moving quickly to press the button, his eyes not quite meeting mine. He started working late more often, texting me brief messages. Client dinner running long. Stuck in a meeting. Don't wait up. Sometimes he wouldn't come home until after midnight, smelling like wine and expensive restaurants I'd never been to. When I'd ask about his day, his answers became vague, distant. You know, same old corporate stuff. You wouldn't find it interesting. Like I was too simple to understand his important work life. He stopped touching me the way he used to. We'd always had a good physical relationship, or at least I thought we did. But over those months, he'd come to bed late, turn away from me, claim he was exhausted. When we did have intimacy, it felt mechanical. Like he was going through the motions with someone he barely saw. He stopped looking at me the way he used to, that look that made me feel desired, seen, loved. Now when he looked at me, His eyes seemed to look right through me, like I was just part of the furniture in the house we shared. I told myself I was being paranoid. Marriage goes through phases, right? Everyone says the passion fades. You build something deeper, something more meaningful than just physical attraction. That's what I tried to believe. I read articles about keeping the spark alive. I bought new lingerie. I tried to initiate date nights. But David was always too tired, too busy, too stressed about work. Then came the perfume, not my perfume. I wore a simple jasmine scent, light and clean. This was different. Sweet, floral, younger somehow. The kind of perfume a woman wears when she's trying to be noticed. It clung to his shirts, his jacket, even his skin some nights. When I finally gathered the courage to ask him about it, he barely looked up from his phone. "Probably from Jennifer at work," he said casually. "She hugged me at the celebration for the Morrison account. You know how touchy-feely she gets." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly, because the alternative was too painful to consider. So I pushed it down, that nagging feeling in my gut. I told myself I was being insecure, jealous, ridiculous. The real turning point came 3 weeks ago. David announced he had a business conference in Seattle for the weekend. A big tech industry event, important networking, several major clients would be there. He seemed excited about it, more animated than I'd seen him in months. His eyes actually lit up when he talked about it. He spent extra time packing, making sure he had the right suits, the right ties. He even bought new cologne for the trip. Friday morning, he kissed me goodbye at the door. He smelled like that new cologne, expensive and sophisticated. "I love you," he said, the words sounding rehearsed. "I'll call you when I get to the hotel." I waved from the doorway like the good wife I was supposed to be. I watched his silver BMW disappear down our tree-lined street. And then I went back inside our empty, perfect house and felt completely alone. But something felt wrong. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was all those little inconsistencies finally adding up in my subconscious, demanding to be acknowledged. Maybe it was the way he'd said, "I love you," without really looking at me. Whatever it was, I couldn't shake it. That feeling sat in my stomach like a stone for the entire day. By Friday evening, I couldn't take it anymore, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to our study, opened our laptop, and checked our phone records online. We had a shared account, something we'd set up years ago for convenience. I'd never looked at it before, never had a reason to. The trust between us had been absolute. I know, it's an invasion of privacy. It's a sign of a broken relationship. It's the kind of thing you judge other people for doing. But you know what's also a sign of a broken relationship? Your husband lying to you. Your husband pulling away from you. Your husband looking at you like you're a stranger. What I found made my blood run cold. I sat there staring at the screen, my hands starting to shake. Hundreds of texts and calls to a single number. A number that wasn't saved in his contacts, just digits. But the pattern was unmistakable. Messages at all hours, during his lunch breaks. Late at night when he said he was working. Early in the morning before he came home from his overnight meetings. Even times when he was supposedly in important client presentations. The communication was constant, obsessive. Some days there were 30, 40, 50 messages, calls that lasted an hour or more. This wasn't a work colleague. This was something else entirely. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. With trembling fingers, I grabbed my phone and called the number, blocking my caller ID first. It rang 3 times. Then a woman answered. Her voice was young, bright, cheerful. "Hello," she said, and there was something in her tone, a kind of breathless anticipation, like she was expecting someone else, someone specific, someone she was happy to hear from. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. I just sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to her say hello. Again, more confused this time. Then I hung up without saying a word. That night, I barely slept. I lay in our king-sized bed with the expensive sheets Linda had given us as an anniversary gift, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the walls were closing in. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that phone log, all those messages, all those calls, all those lies. Next day, Saturday, I did more digging. I was in too deep to stop now. I needed to know. I checked our credit card statements going back months. And there it was, a paper trail I'd been too trusting to notice before. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Nice restaurants, romantic restaurants. A hotel in the city, our city, not Seattle. Multiple charges over multiple nights. Jewelry purchases from stores I'd never received gifts from. Flowers sent to an address I didn't recognize. It was all there, documented proof of betrayal, and I had been too naive, too willing to believe his lies to see it. When David came home Sunday evening, he was in a great mood. Better than I'd seen him in months, actually. He came through the door with a smile on his face and flowers in his hand. Roses, my favorite, supposedly. "For my beautiful wife," he said, kissing my cheek. "I missed you." He told me about the conference, showing me photos on his phone from what he claimed were seminars and networking events. I smiled and nodded and asked interested questions. Later, when he was in the shower, I saved those photos and reverse image searched them. They were from a tech conference, all right, from 2 years ago. Stock photos he'd pulled from the event website. He lied to my face with a smile, with flowers, with manufactured affection, and I said nothing. I took the flowers, put them in water, and thanked him, because I needed time. Time to think, time to process, time to figure out who this man really was and what I was going to do about it. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own marriage. I started paying attention to everything. I found a second phone hidden in his car, tucked under the driver's seat in a small compartment I'd never noticed before. It was passcode protected, of course. I tried our anniversary, his birthday, my birthday. Nothing worked. But just finding it was enough. What kind of man needs a second, secret phone? I found receipts in his jacket pockets that he'd forgotten to throw away. Weekend getaways to bed and breakfasts 2 hours away. Expensive dinners at steakhouses and wine bars. Gifts from boutique stores. I found everything except my dignity, my trust, the marriage I thought I had. And then I found her name, Jessica Wung. I discovered it on a credit card statement, a charge at a restaurant with a note in the memo that the system had captured somehow. Dinner with J. Wung. I looked her up in David's company directory online. 26 years old, marketing coordinator, working in the same building as my husband, probably seeing him every single day. I found her social media profiles. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all set to private. But her profile pictures were public, and that was enough. She was beautiful in that effortless, young way. Long, dark hair, bright smile, trendy clothes. Everything I apparently wasn't anymore at 32. Everything I couldn't compete with. I felt sick, betrayed, angry, heartbroken. All of it at once, a storm of emotions I didn't know how to process. Which brings me to that night, 2 nights ago. The night everything fell apart and came together at the same time. The night that changed everything. David came home around 7 that evening. It was a Wednesday, an ordinary day. He was distracted from the moment he walked in, checking his phone constantly. At dinner, I'd made his favorite meal, pot roast with roasted vegetables, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy while my world crumbled around me. But he barely touched his food. He pushed it around his plate, his eyes distant, his mind clearly somewhere else. Then his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, and I saw something flicker across his face. Excitement, anticipation, the kind of look he used to give me years ago when we were first dating. My stomach twisted. "I have to go back to the office," he said, already standing up, abandoning his half-full plate. "Emergency meeting. Client crisis with the Patterson account. I'll probably be really late, don't wait up for me." It was 9:30 at night, on a Wednesday. What client has emergency meetings at 9:30 on a Wednesday night? But I kept my face calm, neutral. "Okay," I said quietly, "be safe." He grabbed his keys from the hook by the door. He didn't even bother changing out of his casual clothes, which seemed odd for a client meeting. He just grabbed his phone, his wallet, and headed for the door. He kissed the top of my head absently, a gesture that had become automatic, meaningless. "Love you," he said, already halfway out the door. I sat at our dining room table and watched through the window as his silver BMW pulled out of our driveway, the taillights disappearing into the darkness. And then I did what I had been preparing to do for the last 2 days. I opened the tracking app I had secretly installed on his phone. It had been surprisingly easy. 2 days ago, while he was in the shower, I'd taken his phone and installed the app, hidden it in a folder of work-related applications he never used. Technology is a beautiful thing when your husband is too arrogant to notice, too confident in his deception to think his trusting wife would ever check. The little dot that represented my husband appeared on the map, and he wasn't driving toward his office downtown. He was driving in the complete opposite direction, toward the highway, toward the outskirts of the city, toward the same area where that boutique hotel I'd seen on our credit card statements was located. I sat there in the dark dining room, the overhead light turned off, just the glow of my phone's screen illuminating my face. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. I watched that little dot move along the highway, taking the exit that led away from anything work-related, away from any legitimate reason he would be driving at this hour. For over an hour, I watched that dot move. I didn't cry. I was beyond crying. I felt numb, frozen, like I was watching this happen to someone else, like this was a movie and not my real life. The dot finally stopped at a location that made everything crystal clear. I zoomed in on the map, and there it was. The Riverside Villa Hotel, a luxury boutique hotel known for its privacy and discretion. The kind of place with private villas, separate entrances, where married men take their mistresses and pretend they're living a different life. I pulled up the hotel's website on my laptop. Beautiful rooms with fireplaces and king-sized beds, private hot tubs, champagne service, romance packages. I felt bile rise in my throat. I sat there in the dark living room, phone in hand, watching that dot stay stationary. Minutes turned into hours, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. He was there, with her. While I sat in the home we bought together, surrounded by the life we built together, the vows we made together, he was with her. I should have been crying. I should have been throwing things, screaming, breaking down. But instead, I felt cold, calculating. Something had shifted inside me. I was done being the naive wife, the woman who believed everything she was told, who made excuses for the inexcusable. At 1:15 in the morning, I saw the dot start to move again. He was leaving the hotel, heading back toward our house. I watched him take the highway, watched him get closer and closer. I turned off all the lights except for one lamp in the living room and sat on the couch with a book in my lap, like I'd just been reading, like I hadn't spent the last 4 hours tracking my husband to his secret rendezvous. I waited for him to come home so I could look him in the eyes and see if he'd lie to me again. I waited to see if there was anything left of the man I married or if he'd become a complete stranger. But he never came home. At 1:53 in the morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. My heart stopped. Some instinct told me to answer it. "Is this Mrs. Sarah Chen?" a professional male voice asked. "Yes," I whispered. "This is Officer Martinez with the state police. I'm calling about your husband, David Chen. He's been in a serious car accident." The world tilted sideways. Everything I'd been feeling, the anger, the hurt, the cold calculation, disappeared in an instant, replaced by pure shock. "What is he? Is he okay?" "He's alive, ma'am. He's being transported to Memorial Hospital downtown. He's unconscious but stable. You should come right away." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. What happened? How did this happen? It appears he lost control of his vehicle on Highway 12. His car went off the road and hit a tree. We're still investigating the cause. Can you come to the hospital, ma'am? Yes, I'm coming right now." I grabbed my purse and keys with trembling hands. Highway 12. That was the highway coming back from the Riverside Villa Hotel. He'd crashed on his way home from being with her. I should have felt guilty for tracking him, for knowing where he'd been. I should have been consumed only with worry for his health. But all I could think was that karma had arrived swiftly and without mercy. He'd been rushing home from his mistress and lost control of his car. The drive to the hospital was a blur. My mind was racing, trying to process everything. David was hurt. My husband, the man I'd loved for 6 years, was unconscious in a hospital. Despite everything he'd done, despite the betrayal and the lies, I felt fear. Fear of losing him, fear of what this meant, fear of what came next. I parked in the emergency lot and ran inside. The fluorescent lights were harsh and bright after the darkness outside. The smell of antiseptic and floor cleaner hit me immediately. "I'm looking for David Chen," I told the nurse at the desk, my voice shaking. "My husband, he was in a car accident. They just called me." She checked her computer. "Room 127 in the emergency wing, through those doors and to the left. But Mrs. Chen, the doctor will need to speak with you first." I barely heard her. I was already moving, following the signs, my heart pounding. A doctor in blue scrubs intercepted me before I reached the room. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Dr. Patterson. Your husband is stable, but he has significant injuries. A concussion, 3 broken ribs, a fractured left arm, and some internal bruising. We're monitoring him closely for any signs of internal bleeding. He's unconscious right now, which is concerning, but his vitals are stable." "Can I see him?" "Yes, but I need to prepare you. He looks worse than he is. There's bruising, swelling, don't be alarmed." She led me to the room, and there he was, David, my husband, lying in a hospital bed surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. His face was swollen and bruised, his left arm in a cast, bandages wrapped around his chest. He looked broken, vulnerable, nothing like the confident, put-together man who'd walked out our door just hours ago to meet his mistress. I stood in the doorway, frozen. I didn't know what to feel. Relief that he was alive, anger at what he'd been doing, guilt for tracking him, satisfaction that he'd been caught, even if not by me directly. "You can sit with him," Dr. Patterson said gently. "Talk to him. Sometimes they can hear us even when they're unconscious." I moved to the chair beside his bed like I was in a trance. I looked at his bruised face, his closed eyes, his chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. What was I supposed to say? "I'm glad you're alive, but I know you were cheating on me. I hope you recover, but I hate you right now." I reached out and took his uninjured hand. It was warm, familiar. This hand had held mine on our wedding day, had wiped my tears when my father died, had touched me in love and passion and tenderness. This hand had also sent hundreds of text messages to another woman. "Why?" I whispered. "Why did you do this to us?" He didn't answer, just the steady beep of the heart monitor. I sat there in silence, holding my cheating husband's hand in a hospital room, trying to figure out what kind of person this made me. Was I a devoted wife keeping vigil? Or was I a fool, still clinging to a man who'd betrayed me? I was still sitting there, lost in these thoughts, when I heard the sharp click of expensive heels in the hallway. I knew that sound. I'd heard it at 1,000 family gatherings, charity events, dinners where I never quite felt like I measured up. Linda Chen appeared in the doorway, my mother-in-law, looking immaculate despite the early morning hour. Her silver hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, her designer coat probably cost more than my car. But her eyes were wild with fear and anger. "What happened?" she demanded, rushing to the other side of David's bed. "What did you do?" I blinked. What did I do? I didn't do anything. He was in a car accident. "The police called me. They said he crashed on Highway 12 at almost 2 in the morning. What was he doing out there? Why wasn't he home?" Her eyes fixed on me with an accusation that took my breath away. What kind of wife doesn't know where her husband is in the middle of the night? I felt something crack inside me. After everything I'd discovered, after everything David had done, she was blaming me. "He told me he had a work emergency," I said, my voice cold. "He left the house at 9:30. I thought he was at the office." "And you didn't check. You didn't call. You just let him drive around in the middle of the night." Linda's voice was rising, attracting the attention of nurses in the hallway. The doctor stepped in. "Mrs. Chen, please keep your voice down. This is an intensive care area." Linda lowered her volume, but not her intensity. She turned to me with eyes full of fury and fear. "This is your fault. You're supposed to take care of him. You're supposed to know where he is, what he's doing. If something happens to my son, if he doesn't wake up, I will never forgive you." I should have defended myself. I should have told her the truth right then, that her precious son was a liar and a cheater. that he'd been on his way home from a hotel where he'd been with his mistress. But I couldn't. Not here, not like this, not when he was lying unconscious between us. So I said nothing. I just sat there and took it like I'd been taking it for 6 years. Linda pulled out her phone. I'm calling our lawyer and our insurance and the police. I want to know exactly what happened, every detail. Over the next hour, the room filled with people. David's father arrived, quieter than Linda but equally worried. The police came to ask questions about David's state of mind, whether he'd been drinking, whether we'd had a fight. I answered everything truthfully. No, he hadn't been drinking as far as I knew. No, we hadn't fought. Yes, he'd said he had a work emergency. What I didn't say was that I knew exactly where he'd been and why. A nurse came in to check David's vitals. As she adjusted his IV, something fell out of his jacket pocket, which was hanging on a chair. A small bag, a distinctive teal-colored bag from Tiffany & Co. Linda picked it up before I could. She opened it, her face softening. "Oh, David," she said, her voice tender. She pulled out a jewelry box. My heart stopped. After everything I'd discovered, some stupid part of me still hoped. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe this was for me. Maybe he was going to apologize, maybe. Linda opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant. A beautiful, expensive pendant in the shape of a crescent moon. "He has such good taste," Linda said, looking at me with something almost like approval. "You should put this somewhere safe until he wakes up and can give it to you properly." But I knew with absolute certainty that necklace wasn't for me. I would never have chosen something like that. It was too young, too trendy. It was exactly the kind of thing a 26-year-old marketing coordinator would wear. He'd had it with him. He'd probably been planning to give it to her that night, at the hotel, another gift for his mistress. And now his mother was handing it to me like it was a symbol of his love. I took the box with numb fingers. "Thank you," I whispered. Linda's expression shifted, becoming serious. She pulled me aside, away from David's bed, into the hallway. "Sarah, we need to talk about something important," she said, her voice low. "David is going to need intensive care when he's released from the hospital. Someone to be with him 24/7, help him recover, manage his medications, take him to appointments. He's going to need months of physical therapy." "Of course," I said. "I'll take care of him." "Good, because this family has a reputation to maintain. David is a senior manager at a prominent company. We can't have people talking, speculating about why this happened or what he was doing. Do you understand?" I stared at her. Even now, even with her son unconscious in a hospital bed, she was worried about appearances. "The story is simple," Linda continued. "He was working late. He was tired. He fell asleep at the wheel. It was an accident, nothing more. That's what we tell everyone. Family, friends, his company, are we clear?" I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. "Crystal clear." "And Sarah," Linda's eyes hardened, "whatever problems you and David have been having, whatever issues are in your marriage, they end now. He needs stability. He needs support. He needs a devoted wife. Can you be that?" Problems we've been having. Like she knew. Like she'd seen the cracks and chosen to ignore them because acknowledging them would tarnish the perfect family image she'd cultivated. "I'll be here for him," I said, and I meant it, but not in the way she thought. Because standing in that hospital hallway, holding a necklace meant for my husband's mistress, listening to my mother-in-law blame me and instruct me on how to cover up the truth, something crystallized inside me. I wasn't going to be the devoted wife who forgave and forgot. I wasn't going to be the woman who nursed her cheating husband back to health and pretended everything was fine. I was going to be something else entirely. I was going to find out every detail of David's betrayal. I was going to meet Jessica Wung. I was going to gather evidence and make plans. And I was going to make sure that when David woke up, when he recovered, when he thought he'd gotten away with everything, his whole carefully constructed life would come crashing down just like his car had crashed on that highway. If Linda wanted me to be by David's side during his recovery, I would be. But not for the reasons she thought. I would be there to watch, to listen, to learn, and to plan my revenge. Because karma had started the job with that car accident, but karma was going to need some help finishing it. And I was more than ready to help. I walked back into David's hospital room and sat in the chair beside his bed. I looked at his unconscious face, still swollen and bruised. I thought about all the lies he'd told, all the times he'd looked me in the eyes and deceived me. I thought about Jessica Wung, probably at home right now, wondering why David hadn't called her, not knowing he was lying in a hospital bed. Did she know he was married? Did she care? Had he told her he loved her the way he used to tell me? The questions burned through my mind, but I kept my face calm, composed, the perfect worried wife. A nurse came in to check on David again. "You should go home and get some rest," she said kindly. "He's stable. He'll probably be unconscious for several more hours at least. There's nothing you can do right now." But I shook my head. "I'll stay. He's my husband. I should be here when he wakes up." The nurse smiled at me with sympathy. "You're a good wife." If only she knew. As dawn broke outside the hospital windows, I sat in that uncomfortable chair, still holding the Tiffany box, still watching David breathe. And I began to plan. First, I needed to know everything, every detail of the affair, how long it had been going on, how serious it was, what he'd told her about me, about our marriage. I needed evidence, documentation, proof. Second, I needed to protect myself financially. We had joint accounts, joint assets. I needed to understand exactly what we had and make sure I couldn't be left with nothing if things got ugly. Third, I needed to figure out what I wanted. Did I want a divorce? Did I want revenge? Did I want him to suffer the way I was suffering? Did I want to expose him publicly or handle this privately? I didn't have all the answers yet, but I had time. David wasn't going anywhere for a while. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "Honey, Linda called us. We're so sorry about David. Do you need us to come?" I texted back, "I'm okay. He's stable. I'll call you later." My parents, good. Honest people who ran a bakery and loved each other for 40 years without drama or betrayal. They had never understood my marriage to David, never quite felt comfortable with his family's wealth and status. But they'd supported my choice because they loved me. What would they say when they found out the truth? Would they be surprised? Or would they admit they'd seen this coming all along? I looked up at the lightening sky through the window. Somewhere out there, Jessica Wung was waking up to a new day. Maybe she was checking her phone, wondering why David hadn't texted her. Maybe she was worried. Maybe she was annoyed. She had no idea her whole world was about to change too. Because I was done being invisible. I was done being the convenient wife. I was done being the woman everyone overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. David had made a mistake when he betrayed me, but his biggest mistake was underestimating what I would do when I found out. Linda wanted me to be the devoted wife through his recovery. Fine. I would play that role perfectly. I would be so devoted, so caring, so present that no one would ever suspect what I was really doing. I would smile and bring him meals and help him with physical therapy. And while I did all that, I would be systematically dismantling every lie he'd ever told, uncovering every secret he'd kept, and building a case against him so solid that when the time came, he wouldn't know what hit him. The door opened again. Dr. Patterson entered with a clipboard. "Mrs. Chen, I have an update. We've completed all the scans. The good news is there's no internal bleeding and the concussion, while serious, doesn't show any brain damage. He should wake up within the next 6 to 12 hours. And then, he'll be in significant pain, confused probably. The concussion will affect his memory and cognitive function for a while. He might not remember the accident or even the events leading up to it. That's normal with head trauma. He might not remember. Interesting. How long will he be in the hospital? At least a week, possibly 2. Then several months of recovery at home. The ribs will take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. The arm needs to stay in a cast for at least 6 weeks. He won't be able to work, drive, or do much of anything on his own for quite a while. I understand. I'll be here for whatever he needs." Dr. Patterson smiled. "He's lucky to have you." I smiled back, the perfect devoted wife. I'm the lucky one. After she left, I sat back down and waited. Waited for David to wake up. Waited to see if he would remember where he'd been, what he'd been doing. Waited to see if he would confess or if he would add one more lie to the pile. Around 8 in the morning, his eyes started to flutter. I leaned forward, watching as consciousness slowly returned to him. His eyelids opened, revealing confused, unfocused eyes. "David," I said softly, "can you hear me?" He blinked slowly. His eyes moved around the room, trying to make sense of his surroundings. When they landed on me, there was no recognition at first. Then slowly, awareness crept in. "Sarah," his voice was rough, barely a whisper. "I'm here. You're in the hospital. You were in a car accident, but you're going to be okay." He tried to move and winced in pain. What? What happened? This was it, the moment of truth. Did he remember? Did he know I could know? "You left the house around 9:30, I said carefully. "You said you had a work emergency. The police said you crashed on Highway 12 around 1:30 in the morning. Do you remember any of that?" His eyes clouded with confusion. He was clearly trying to think, to piece together his memories, but the concussion made it difficult. I was driving. I remember driving, but I don't." He closed his eyes. "My head hurts." "Don't try to think too hard. The doctor said you have a concussion. It's normal not to remember everything right away." He looked at me again, and something in his expression made my heart hurt despite everything. He looked vulnerable, lost, like a child who didn't understand what was happening. "You stayed," he whispered. "You're here." "Of course I'm here. You're my husband." A tear slipped down his bruised cheek. "I don't deserve you." If only he knew how true that statement was. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Linda rushed in, followed by David's father. "David, oh my God, you're awake." Linda pushed past me to get to his side. "How do you feel? Are you in pain? Should I call the doctor?" "Mom," David whispered, "I'm okay." "You are not okay. Look at you. What were you thinking, driving around in the middle of the night?" She turned to glare at me again, as if this was somehow still my fault. David's father, Richard, put a hand on my shoulder. He was a quieter man than his wife, more thoughtful. "How are you holding up, Sarah?" "I'm fine. I'm just glad he's awake." "Have you been here all night?" "Yes." He nodded approvingly. "That's good. He needs you." The doctor came in to examine David, asking him questions, checking his responses, explaining his injuries and what recovery would look like. Linda asked 1,000 questions, taking notes, already planning and organizing like she did everything else in life. I stood back and watched it all unfold. Watched David wince in pain. Watched Linda fuss over him. Watched Richard make phone calls to notify family and David's work. And I waited. Because the real game was just beginning. David was awake, but he didn't remember the accident or what led to it. That gave me an advantage. He didn't know if I knew where he'd been. He didn't know that I'd tracked him to that hotel. He didn't know that I'd spent weeks uncovering his affair. For now, I would let him think his secret was still safe. I would play the devoted wife, just like Linda wanted. I would help him recover, tend to his needs, be present and caring. And while I did all that, I would be digging deeper, finding evidence, planning my next move. Because David thought the accident was his crisis, his tragedy. He thought surviving it was his second chance. But he had no idea that the real crash was still coming. And when it hit, it would destroy everything he'd built on lies. I looked at him lying in that hospital bed, surrounded by family, being comforted and cared for. He had no idea that the woman standing quietly in the corner, the wife everyone thought was so devoted, was about to become his worst nightmare. The car accident had broken his body, but I was going to break something much more important. I was going to break the perfect life he thought he could have, the successful career, the devoted wife at home, and the young mistress on the side. He couldn't have it all, and he was about to learn that lesson in the most painful way possible. I just had to be patient, strategic, smart. And if there's one thing my 6 years with the Chen family had taught me, It was how to smile and play my part while planning 3 steps ahead. David had taught me well. He'd been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. Now it was my turn to lie, to pretend, to deceive. And I was going to be so much better at it than he ever was. David came home from the hospital 9 days later. 9 days of playing the perfect wife while my mind worked overtime, gathering information, building my case, planning my future. 9 days of Linda directing me on everything from which pillows to buy for David's recovery to what meals I should prepare to aid his healing. 9 days of smiling and nodding while rage simmered just beneath my skin. We'd converted the downstairs guest room into a temporary bedroom for David since he couldn't manage the stairs yet. I'd spent 2 days setting it up exactly to Linda's specifications. The right medical equipment rented. The adjustable bed positioned just so. A small refrigerator stocked with drinks so he wouldn't have to get up. She'd even chosen the color of the new curtains, saying the old ones were too dark and David needed healing energy from natural light. I'd done it all with a smile, while screenshotting every text message between David and Jessica's number that I could access through our phone account, while documenting every credit card charge, while building a file of evidence that grew larger every day. The ambulance brought David home on a Tuesday afternoon. Richard helped him inside while Linda supervised, giving instructions to everyone. I stood in the doorway of his new room, the devoted wife waiting to care for her injured husband. "This looks great, Sarah," Richard said, helping David settle onto the bed. David winced with every movement, his broken ribs making even breathing painful. "She's done a wonderful job," Linda agreed, though her tone suggested she'd expected nothing less. "Now, David, Sarah knows your medication schedule. Every 4 hours for the pain medication, twice daily for the anti-inflammatory. I've written everything down for her." For her, like I was a nurse being given instructions, not his wife. "I've also prepared a meal plan," Linda continued, pulling out her phone. "Protein for healing, anti-inflammatory foods, nothing too heavy since he's not moving much. I'll text you the recipes." "Thank you, Linda," I said softly. "I want to make sure he has everything he needs." She looked at me appraisingly. "Good, because the next few months are critical. David needs to focus entirely on recovery. No stress, no complications. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I understood perfectly. She was telling me to keep my mouth shut about any marital problems, to be the perfect caretaker, to maintain the illusion. "I understand completely," I said, and I did, just not in the way she meant. After his parents left, I brought David his medication and a glass of water. He was propped up on pillows, his casted arm resting on a support pillow, his face still showing the fatting bruises from the accident. "Thank you," he said quietly, taking the pills. "For everything, for setting all this up, for taking care of me." "Of course," I said. "That's what wives do." He caught my hand with his good one. "I know I haven't been the best husband lately. I've been distant, working too much. But this whole thing has made me realize what's important. You, us, this marriage." I wanted to laugh, or scream, or throw his words back in his face. Instead, I squeezed his hand gently. "You need to focus on getting better. We can talk about everything else later." Relief flooded his face. He thought he'd been given a pass. He thought his near-death experience had earned him forgiveness for sins I wasn't even supposed to know about. "I love you, Sarah," he said, his eyes getting watery. "I know I don't say it enough, but I do." "I love you too," I lied. The words came out smooth and easy. I was getting good at this. That first week was exhausting in ways I hadn't anticipated. David needed help with everything: getting to the bathroom, showering, getting dressed, taking his medications on schedule, eating. Every 4 hours, day and night, I was up helping him, caring for him, playing my role. Linda came by every single day, sometimes twice a day. She'd check on David, inspect how I was managing his care, offer unsolicited advice on everything from how I was arranging his pillows to whether I was keeping the room at the right temperature. "You look tired," she observed on day 3, finding me in the kitchen preparing lunch. "Are you keeping up with everything?" "I'm fine," I said, chopping vegetables for the anti-inflammatory soup she'd insisted David eat daily. Just adjusting to the new schedule. She watched me work with critical eyes. You know, if this is too much for you, we could hire a nurse, someone professional. There it was, the implication that I wasn't capable, wasn't good enough. Even in this, even in caring for my own husband, I didn't quite measure up. That won't be necessary, I said firmly. I can handle it. Can you? Because David's recovery is too important to leave to someone who's overwhelmed. I set down the knife and turned to face her. Linda, I've been up every 4 hours for 3 days straight making sure David has his medication on time. I've helped him with every personal need he has. I've prepared every meal according to your specifications. I've managed his physical therapy appointments, his follow-up doctor visits, and kept everyone updated on his progress. What exactly am I not handling? She blinked, surprised by my directness. I was usually so accommodating, so quick to defer to her. I'm just trying to help, she said, her voice cooling. I know, and I appreciate it, but I've got this. David is my husband. This is my responsibility. Something shifted in her expression. For a moment, I thought she might actually respect me. Then she smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, I just want what's best for my son. After she left, I stood in the kitchen, hands shaking with suppressed anger. I wanted what was best for her son. What about what was best for me? What about the fact that her son had been cheating on me, lying to me, treating our marriage like a joke? But I couldn't say any of that. Not yet. Not until I was ready. Instead, I pulled out my phone and did what I'd been doing every spare moment I had. I investigated. I'd created a fake Instagram account, carefully curated to look like a real person. Generic photos, a few followers enough to seem legitimate, and I'd sent a follow request to Jessica Wung. She'd accepted 2 days ago. Now I could see everything. Her photos, her stories, her life. And I studied them obsessively, trying to understand the woman my husband had chosen over me. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that, she looked fun, adventurous. Her feed was full of hiking trips, fancy brunches with friends, concerts, beach days. She looked like someone without responsibilities, someone who could be spontaneous, someone who represented freedom. Everything I wasn't anymore. Everything I'd stopped being when I married into the Chen family and became the woman Linda wanted me to be. In one photo from 3 weeks ago, Jessica was at a restaurant I recognized from our credit card statements. She was smiling at the camera, and on the table in front of her was a glass of red wine and what looked like an expensive steak dinner. The caption read, "Best Tuesday ever read." Tuesday, 3 weeks ago, the night David said he was working late on a presentation. I scrolled further back. There were hints everywhere once I knew what to look for. A photo of flowers with the caption, "Someone's being sweet." A picture of champagne glasses clinking with the caption, "Celebrating good news," from around the time David got his last promotion. A scenic photo from a bed and breakfast I recognized from our credit card statements, posted on a weekend David had told me he was at a work retreat. She didn't tag him, never mentioned him by name. She was careful. Or maybe David had asked her to be. But the evidence was there in the timeline, matching up perfectly with his lies to me. The most recent photo was from 2 days before the accident. Jessica at the Riverside Villa Hotel, the same hotel David had driven to that night. She was in a bathrobe, clearly in one of their luxury rooms, with champagne in hand. The caption, "Sometimes you need to treat yourself clinking sparkles." But it wasn't a solo trip. In the mirror reflection behind her, you could just barely see the edge of a person. A man's shoulder, wearing what looked like a dark blue shirt. David had a dark blue shirt exactly like that. I zoomed in on the photo, my heart pounding. It was blurry, not enough to prove anything definitively, but I knew it was him. I took screenshots of everything, adding them to the growing folder on my cloud storage. The folder Linda and David didn't know existed. The folder that contained the evidence of every lie, every betrayal, every moment of my husband's double life. But I needed more than social media posts and credit card statements. I needed something concrete, something undeniable. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to meet Jessica Wang. The opportunity came a week later. David had a follow-up appointment with his orthopedic surgeon to check on his arm. Linda, of course, insisted on coming along, which meant I would be free for at least 2 hours. "Are you sure you don't want to come?" Linda asked me the morning of the appointment. "You should know what the doctor says." "I trust you to fill me in," I said. "Besides, I have errands to run. We're running low on groceries and David's prescriptions need to be refilled." It wasn't a lie. I did need to do those things, but I was going to do something else first. I'd done my research. Jessica worked at David's company, yes, but on Thursdays she had a standing lunch routine. According to her Instagram stories, every Thursday at 12:30, she went to a small cafe called the Greenhouse 3 blocks from her office. She always posted a photo of her order, usually an acai bowl and a matcha latte. It was Thursday, and I was going to be at the Greenhouse at 12:30. After Linda and Richard picked up David for his appointment, I got ready with more care than I'd taken in weeks. Not too dressy, but put together. I wanted to look like someone Jessica wouldn't immediately dismiss, someone she might actually talk to. The drive to the cafe felt surreal. I was about to come face to face with my husband's mistress, and she had no idea who I was. The Greenhouse was exactly the kind of trendy spot I expected. Lots of plants, minimalist decor, a menu full of overpriced health food. I arrived at 12:20 and ordered a green smoothie I had no intention of drinking. Then I found a table with a good view of the door and waited. She walked in at 12:32, and I recognized her immediately from her photos. Long dark hair pulled into a high ponytail, athletic wear that looked expensive, carrying a designer gym bag. She was even prettier in person, with the kind of effortless beauty that came from being 26 and not yet beaten down by life. I watched as she ordered her usual, watched as she pulled out her phone and smiled at something on the screen, watched as she found a table near the window, settling in with her acai bowl. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in the cafe could hear it. This was insane. What was I even planning to say to her? But before I could talk myself out of it, I stood up. I walked over to her table, and I said the first thing that came to mind. "Excuse me, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I love your bag. Can I ask where you got it?" Jessica looked up, startled. Then she smiled, friendly and open. "Oh, thanks, it's from Lululemon. I got it online." "It's gorgeous. I've been looking for a good gym bag." I gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Do you mind if I sit? All the other tables are taken." It was a lie. There were plenty of tables, but she didn't seem to notice. "Sure, go ahead." I sat down across from my husband's mistress, and she had no idea who I was. "I'm Sarah," I said, using my real name because I wanted her to hear it. Wanted to see if there was any recognition. "Jessica," she replied, shaking my hand. Nothing in her expression changed. David hadn't told her my name, or if he had, she didn't connect it to the random woman in the cafe. "Do you come here often?" I asked. "I just moved to the area and I'm trying to find good spots." "Every Thursday, religiously," she laughed. "I'm obsessed with their acai bowls, and it's close to my office, so it's perfect for lunch breaks." "Where do you work?" "Tech company downtown. I'm in marketing. It's pretty great, actually. Good people, good benefits." She took a bite of her bowl. "What about you?" "I'm a graphic designer. Freelance, so I work from home mostly." We made small talk. She was charming, easy to talk to. Under different circumstances, I might have actually liked her. She talked about her job, her love of hiking, a trip she was planning to Thailand. She seemed so normal, so nice, which somehow made it worse. "So do you have a boyfriend? Husband?" I asked casually, like it was just friendly conversation. Something flickered across her face. "It's complicated," she said finally. "I'm seeing someone, but we're figuring things out." "Complicated how?" She hesitated, weighing how much to share with a stranger. "He's going through some stuff right now, some personal things, so we're taking it slow." Personal things. Like recovering from a car accident he got into while rushing home from seeing her. That must be hard, I said sympathetically. Long distance. No, he's here. It's just, she bit her lip. He's dealing with some family obligations. I'm trying to be patient and supportive, but it's not always easy. Family obligations. Was that what David had called me? An obligation? How long have you been together? About 8 months, but I've known him longer through work. He's amazing, really. Smart, ambitious, handsome, worth the wait. 8 months. The same time I'd noticed David pulling away. This wasn't a fling or a mistake. This was a relationship. He'd been building a whole separate life with her for 8 months. He sounds great, I managed. I hope it works out for you. Me too. She checked her phone and her expression softened. Actually, he just texted me. First time in over a week. He's been dealing with this family emergency, been completely MIA. I was starting to worry. She turned her phone so I could see, and there it was. A message from a contact saved as D-read. Hey, beautiful. Sorry I've been quiet. Things have been crazy. Miss you. Can we talk soon? I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. He was texting her, right now, while recovering from the accident. While I was taking care of him, playing the devoted wife, he was texting his mistress that he missed her. That's sweet, I said, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. Jessica smiled, typing back a response. He's really special. I know it's complicated now, but I think we have a real future together. He's told me he's working on some things, making changes. I just have to be patient. Working on some things, making changes. What did that mean? Was he planning to leave me? Had he told her that? Well, I hope it all works out, I said, standing up suddenly. I should get going. It was nice meeting you, Jessica. You too, Sarah. Maybe I'll see you here again. Maybe, I said, knowing I would never come back here, knowing I had everything I needed from this conversation. I walked out of that cafe and made it to my car before the shaking started. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. 8 months. He'd been with her for 8 months. He'd told her he was making changes. He'd texted her from our home, from the bed where I was taking care of him, to tell her he missed her. And she had no idea he was married. Or if she did know, she clearly didn't think of me as real, as a person. Just a family obligation he was dealing with. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and did something I'd been planning for days. I called David's office and asked for HR. Hi, this is Sarah Chen, David Chen's wife. I'm calling because David was in a serious car accident and will be out on medical leave for the next several months. I wanted to make sure all the paperwork was in order. The HR representative was immediately sympathetic. Oh yes, Mrs. Chen, we heard about the accident. We're so sorry. How is David doing? Recovering slowly. It's going to be a long process. Please let him know everyone here is thinking of him. And don't worry about the paperwork. We have everything we need. His short-term disability is already approved. That's great. I also wanted to ask about his work phone and laptop. Should I bring those in? I don't want any work emergencies going unanswered. Actually, that would be helpful. There might be some time-sensitive things his team needs to handle. We can reassign his projects and make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Perfect. I'll bring everything by tomorrow. What I didn't mention was that I was going to clone both devices before I returned them. Every email, every message, every file. I was going to have access to everything. That night when I got home, Linda was already there with David. They looked up when I walked in, and I forced myself to smile. How did the appointment go? I asked. Very well, Linda said. The arm is healing nicely. The doctor said David is making excellent progress. That's wonderful. I set down the groceries and went to David's bedside. He looked happy to see me, reaching for my hand with his good one. Where did you go? He asked. You were gone a while. Just errands, grocery store, pharmacy, boring stuff. I squeezed his hand. But I'm glad your appointment went well. You must be tired. Let me make you something to eat. I went to the kitchen and started preparing dinner, my mind racing. Tomorrow I would clone his work devices and return them. I would download every piece of evidence I needed. and then I would start planning the next phase. Because meeting Jessica had changed something in me. Seeing her face, hearing her talk about my husband like he was available, like their future was real, like I didn't exist, it had crystallized my resolve. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was cold, calculated, ready. David thought he could have both lives. The respectable married life with the devoted wife and the exciting secret life with the young mistress. He thought he could keep me in the dark. Keep Jessica hopeful, and keep everyone happy while he played both sides. But that game was over. Over the next week, I executed my plan with precision. I took David's work laptop and phone, telling him I was bringing them to the office. Instead, I went to a tech cafe where, for $200, a guy who didn't ask questions cloned everything to an external hard drive. Every email, every text, every file, everything. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Hundreds of emails between David and Jessica, not just flirting, full conversations. He'd told her he was unhappily married to someone who didn't understand him. He'd said our marriage was more of a business arrangement at this point. He'd told her he was waiting for the right time to end things with me. There were emails planning trips together, hotels booked, restaurants reserved. He'd even looked at apartments, sending her listings for places they could eventually live together. In one email from 6 months ago, Jessica had asked directly, "When are you going to tell her?" David had responded, "Soon, I just need to figure out the financial situation and deal with my mother, but I promise this is real. You're who I want to be with." I read that email 3 times, each time feeling more hollow. He'd been planning to leave me. He'd been promising her a future, and I'd had no idea. There were also emails with his lawyer, not their family lawyer, a different one, inquiries about divorce, questions about asset division, what he'd be entitled to, what I'd be entitled to. He'd been preparing, getting ready to destroy our marriage while pretending everything was fine. The most recent email to the lawyer was from 2 days before the accident. "I think I'm ready to move forward. Can we set up a meeting for next week?" He'd been planning to ask for a divorce, and then he'd crashed his car on the way home from seeing the woman he was going to leave me for. The karma was almost poetic. I saved everything, organized it all into folders. Dates, times, evidence. I had proof of everything now. Every lie, every betrayal, every plan he'd made to discard me like I was nothing. But I didn't confront him, not yet. Because Linda had given me an idea, though she didn't know it. She was obsessed with appearances, with reputation, with maintaining the family image. She'd told me David needed to focus on recovery without stress or complications. What if I gave her exactly what she wanted? What if I was the perfect wife through David's recovery, so devoted and caring that everyone could see it? What if I made sure that when the truth finally came out, there would be absolutely no question about who was the victim and who was the villain in this story? I would let David recover. I would help him heal. I would be so good to him that everyone, his family, his friends, his colleagues, would see what an amazing wife he had. And then, when he was better, when he thought he'd gotten away with everything, when he maybe even tried to ask me for that divorce he'd been planning, I would destroy him. Not with violence, not with drama, with the truth. Every email, every text, every receipt, every lie would come out. But not just to me, to everyone. To his family who thought he was so perfect. To his company where he'd been having an affair with a subordinate, which was definitely against their ethics policy. To our friends who thought we were the ideal couple. I would expose everything in a way that was calm, documented, irrefutable. I would make sure everyone knew exactly who David Chen really was. And I would do it all while maintaining my dignity, my composure, my position as the wronged wife who'd done everything right. Linda wanted me to be the devoted wife. Fine. I would be so devoted that when David's betrayal came to light, the contrast would be devastating. That night, I brought David his evening medication with a smile. I'd made his favorite dinner, well, the anti-inflammatory version Linda had approved. I helped him eat because his ribs still made it painful to move. "You're so good to me," he said softly. "I don't deserve you." "Don't say that," I replied, wiping his mouth gently with a napkin. We're partners, for better or worse, remember. He teared up. I remember. And I'm going to be better, Sarah. I'm going to be the husband you deserve. This accident, it was a wake-up call. I want to do better. I wanted to throw his words back at him. I wanted to tell him I'd read his emails, I'd met Jessica, I knew everything. But instead, I just kissed his forehead. Focus on getting better first. Everything else can wait. He fell asleep soon after, the pain medication making him drowsy. I sat beside his bed in the dim light and opened my laptop. I started a new document, a timeline. Every date, every lie, every piece of evidence, all organized chronologically. The complete story of David's betrayal. Then I started another document, a list of everyone who needed to know the truth when the time came. His parents, his boss, HR at his company, our friends, his colleagues. I would tell them all, but strategically, methodically, in a way that maximized the impact. I also started researching divorce lawyers, not the one David had contacted, the best one in the city, the one who was known for representing wives and making sure they got everything they deserved. I had months while David recovered, months to prepare, to plan, to build my case, months to be the perfect wife while plotting the perfect exposure. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. How are you holding up, sweetheart? This must be so hard. I texted back, I'm okay, Mom, taking it day by day. You're so strong. David is lucky to have you. If only she knew what strength actually looked like. It wasn't just taking care of someone. It was taking care of someone who'd betrayed you while planning their downfall. It was smiling while your heart was breaking. It was playing the long game when you wanted immediate revenge. That was strength, and I was discovering I had more of it than I ever knew. Another text came in, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Sarah, it's Jessica from the greenhouse. I got your number from. Actually, I hope this isn't weird, but I asked around and found you on social media. I'm having a small get-together this weekend, just some girls. Would you want to come? I'd love to get to know you better. I stared at the message in disbelief. Jessica had tracked me down to invite me to a party. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. But then I thought about it. What better way to gather information than to become her friend? What better way to understand the full scope of David's lies than to hear them from her perspective? I texted back, That's so sweet of you. I'd love to come. Just need to check my schedule, taking care of family stuff right now. Can I let you know? Of course, no pressure. Hope everything is okay with your family. Just some health issues. Nothing too serious. I'll definitely try to make it. I put my phone down and almost laughed. Here I was, texting with my husband's mistress, making plans to attend her party, while my husband slept 10 feet away, completely oblivious. The next morning, Linda arrived early as usual. She'd taken to coming by at 8 a.m. to check on things. Really, she was checking on me, making sure I was maintaining her standards of care for David. Good morning, Sarah, she said, breezing into the house with her usual confidence. How was his night? Good. Pain levels are manageable. He slept well. She went directly to David's room, and I followed. David was awake, propped up on pillows, looking at his phone. He quickly set it down when we entered, and I noticed the slight flush on his face. Had he been texting Jessica, right in front of me? Good morning, darling, Linda said, kissing David's forehead. How are you feeling today? Better, Mom. Sarah's taking great care of me. I'm glad to hear it. Linda turned to me. I need to speak with you, Sarah, in the kitchen. Here we go, I thought. Another lecture on proper care techniques or meal planning or something. But when we got to the kitchen, Linda's expression was different. Serious, almost calculating. Sarah, I want to talk to you about something important, about your future with David. My heart started pounding. Did she know something? Okay, I said carefully. David is going to need care for at least another 2 months. Full-time care. And then after that, he'll need support as he transitions back to work, back to normal life. I know, I'm prepared for that. Good, because I need to know that you're committed to this marriage. truly committed. I bristled. Of course I'm committed. I'm his wife. Yes, but... Linda paused, choosing her words carefully. Marriages go through difficult times. I'm not blind, Sarah. I've seen the distance between you two over the past year. I've noticed things weren't quite right. So she had noticed. She just hadn't cared until it threatened her perfect family image. Every marriage has its challenges, I said evenly. True, but this situation, David's recovery, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to rebuild, to reconnect. And I need to know that you're going to use this time to make your marriage stronger, not let it fall apart. What exactly are you asking me, Linda? She looked me directly in the eyes. I'm asking you to commit to this marriage for the long term, no matter what. David needs stability right now. He needs to know his wife isn't going anywhere. Can you give him that? The irony was almost too much. She was asking me to commit to a marriage her son had already checked out of months ago. She was asking me to promise loyalty to a man who'd been planning to divorce me. But I smiled. Of course I can. David is my priority. Making this marriage work is my priority. Relief flooded Linda's face. Good. That's what I needed to hear. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Sarah. I never thought you were quite right for David. You came from such a different background. But the way you've handled this crisis, the way you've stepped up, it's shown me that maybe I was wrong about you. It took everything in me not to react. After 6 years of subtle put-downs and implications that I wasn't good enough, now she was saying maybe I was acceptable, because I was playing the role she wanted. Thank you, Linda. That means a lot. I'm serious. You've proven yourself. And if you continue to be this devoted, this present, this committed to David and to this family, I think we can all move forward together. I think you might actually be the right wife for my son after all. I wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream. Instead, I just nodded. Now, Linda continued, I want to start planning ahead. Once David is recovered, I think you two should renew your vows. A small ceremony, just family and close friends. A recommitment to each other. Something beautiful and meaningful. What do you think? She wanted us to renew our vows, while David was planning to leave me for another woman. While he was texting that woman from the bed where I was caring for him. That sounds lovely, I said. When were you thinking? Maybe in 6 months. Give David time to fully recover. It would be a fresh start for both of you. 6 months, perfect. Because in 6 months, I wouldn't be renewing vows. I'd be serving divorce papers, with evidence, with witnesses, with everything I needed to make sure David Chen got exactly what he deserved. I'm so glad we had this talk, Linda said, actually hugging me. Welcome to the family, Sarah, really. For the first time, I feel like you're truly one of us. She left soon after, and I stood in the kitchen, processing what had just happened. Linda had essentially told me that if I stayed devoted, stayed committed, stayed in my place, I could finally be accepted. I could be good enough. And the sad thing was, a year ago, I would have been thrilled. I would have taken that crumb of approval and treasured it. But now I saw it for what it was. Manipulation. Control. Another way to keep me in line, keep me playing the role they needed me to play. Well, I would play the role, better than anyone expected. I went back to David's room. He was on his phone again, smiling at something on the screen. Everything okay with Mom? He asked, looking up. Fine. She just wanted to make sure I was taking good care of you. You're amazing. He held out his hand and I took it. I'm really lucky, Sarah. I know I haven't always shown it, but I am. I squeezed his hand and smiled. We're both lucky. We have each other. He smiled back, and for a moment, I saw the man I'd married 6 years ago. Before the lies, before Jessica, before everything fell apart. I saw who he could have been if he'd made different choices. But he didn't make different choices. He chose to betray me. He chose to plan a future with someone else while keeping me in the dark. And now he would face the consequences. I need to tell you something, David said suddenly, his expression becoming serious. My heart stopped. Was he going to confess? Was this it? What is it? I asked, keeping my voice calm. I've been thinking a lot since the accident, about my priorities, about what matters. And I realize I've been taking you for granted, working too much, not being present. I want to change that. Okay. I'm serious. When I'm recovered, I want us to take a trip, just the two of us. Maybe Hawaii or somewhere tropical. Reconnect, remember why we fell in love. He was love-bombing me, making promises to keep me happy, keep me from asking questions. Or maybe he was feeling guilty. Or maybe he'd decided to break things off with Jessica and really try with our marriage. It didn't matter. Whatever his motivation, it was too late. That sounds wonderful, I said. I'd like that. Good, because you deserve it. You deserve so much better than I've been giving you. You've been under a lot of stress at work, I said, giving him an out. It's understandable. Still, I'm going to do better, I promise. Promises from a liar, I thought, but out loud I just said, I believe you. That night, after David fell asleep, I did something I'd been planning. I texted Jessica back. Hey, I'd love to come to your get-together. When and where? She responded almost immediately. Yay, Saturday at 7, my place. I'll send you the address. It's just wine and apps, super casual, can't wait. I was going to a party at my husband's mistress's apartment. I was going to drink wine with her, laugh with her, befriend her. And the whole time, I would be gathering information, learning everything I could, building my case. Because revenge wasn't just about exposing the truth. It was about strategy, timing, making sure that when everything came crashing down, it crashed completely. David had spent months lying to me. Now it was my turn. And I was going to be so much better at this game than he ever was. Saturday evening arrived, and I found myself standing outside Jessica Wang's apartment building in the trendy part of downtown, holding a bottle of wine I'd carefully selected. Not too expensive to seem like I was trying too hard, but nice enough to be a good guest. Everything about this evening had to be perfect. I had to seem like just another woman she'd met at a cafe, someone normal, someone who could become a friend. The building was modern, all glass and steel, with a doorman who smiled and directed me to the elevators. Jessica lived on the 8th floor. As I rode up, I checked my appearance in the mirrored walls. I dressed casually but nicely, jeans, a soft sweater, minimal makeup. I looked like someone without a care in the world. Someone whose husband wasn't lying in a hospital bed at home. Someone who wasn't about to have wine with her husband's mistress. The elevator doors opened, and I found apartment 8C. I could hear laughter and music from inside. For a moment, I almost turned around. This was insane. What was I even doing here? But then I thought about David, texting her while I changed his bandages. I thought about those emails where he called our marriage a business arrangement. I thought about how he'd promised her a future while lying to my face every single day. I knocked. Jessica opened the door, her face lighting up when she saw me. Sarah, you made it. Come in, come in. She hugged me like we were old friends, and I forced myself to hug back. She smelled like that perfume, the one I'd detected on David's shirts. Up close, it was overwhelming, and I had to fight to keep my expression neutral. Thanks for inviting me, I said, handing her the wine. I hope this is okay. It's perfect. You didn't have to bring anything. Come meet everyone. The apartment was exactly what I'd expected. Stylish, modern, Instagram-worthy. Lots of plants, trendy furniture, string lights creating a cozy ambience. There were about 7 other women scattered around the living room, all around Jessica's age, all looking like they'd stepped out of a lifestyle blog. Jessica introduced me around. Everyone, this is Sarah. We met at the greenhouse and totally hit it off. Sarah, this is Amanda, Kristen, Lee, Sophia, Morgan, Rachel, and you remember Jenny from my stories. They all smiled and welcomed me warmly. I felt ancient next to them, even though I was only 6 years older than most of them. But they seemed nice enough, and soon I had a glass of rosé in my hand and was settling onto the couch, listening to them chat about their weeks. It was so normal. They talked about work drama, bad dates, new restaurants they wanted to try, an upcoming concert. They could have been any group of friends having a casual Saturday night, and I could have been anyone joining them. Except I wasn't. I was the wife, the obstacle. the family obligation standing in the way of Jessica's happiness. "So Sarah, what do you do?" Amanda asked. She worked in finance, I'd learned. Very put together, very type A. "I'm a freelance graphic designer," I said. "Mostly corporate branding, some web design." "That's cool. Do you work from home?" "Yeah, most of the time. It's nice having flexibility, though it can be isolating sometimes." "I bet," Lee chimed in. She was a yoga instructor. "That's why it's important to have friend groups outside of work, like this." She gestured around the room. "Jessica is so good at bringing people together." Jessica smiled from the kitchen where she was refilling the cheese board. "I just like having my girls around. Life's too short not to surround yourself with good people, you know." "Absolutely," I agreed, taking a sip of wine. "So how do you all know each other?" "Most of us work together," Kristen explained. "Same company, different departments. Jessica is like the social coordinator. She's always organizing happy hours and weekend trips." "Not always," Jessica protested, coming back with the cheese. "But yeah, I like keeping people connected. Speaking of which, we're planning a trip to Napa next month. You should totally come, Sarah." "A trip to Napa with my husband's mistress and her friends." "Sure, why not add that to the list of surreal experiences?" "That sounds amazing," I said. "I'll have to check my schedule. I've got some family stuff going on right now." "Is everything okay?" Jessica asked, her face showing genuine concern. "You mentioned that when you texted." "Yeah, my husband's not feeling well. Nothing serious, but he needs some extra care right now." "Oh, you're married," Morgan said. "How long?" 6 years. "That's awesome. What's your husband like?" I almost laughed. What was David like? Lying, cheating, planning to leave me for the woman currently offering me crackers. "He's in tech," I said carefully. "Senior manager at a software company. Works a lot, very career-focused." "Sounds like he's ambitious," Sophia said. "Is that hard, having a husband who works all the time?" "Sometimes," I admitted, and this part was true. "There are definitely nights when I wish he was home more, but I understood what I was signing up for when we got married. His career is important to him." Jessica was quiet, looking down at her wine glass. I wondered what she was thinking. Did she feel guilty, knowing she was part of the reason someone's husband wasn't home at night? "Well, you seem like you're handling it well," Amanda said. "I don't think I could do the whole married thing. Too much compromise." "It is a lot of compromise," I agreed. "You have to really trust each other, be honest, communicate." I looked directly at Jessica as I said it. The moment that trust is broken, I don't think there's any coming back from it. "I disagree," Rachel said. She was the quietest of the group, worked in HR. "I think people can work through anything if they both want to. Couples therapy, recommitment, starting fresh." "Maybe," I said, "but some betrayals are too big, some lies are too fundamental." "Like cheating?" Morgan asked. "Yeah, I'd never forgive that. Immediate deal breaker." Several others nodded in agreement. Jessica stayed quiet, picking at the label on her wine bottle. "What about you, Jess?" Kristen asked. "Would you forgive a cheater?" Jessica looked uncomfortable. "I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation, why they did it, whether they were actually in love with the other person or if it was just a mistake." "There's no good reason," Amanda said firmly. "Cheating is cheating." "But what if they were in a bad relationship?" Jessica argued, her voice getting more defensive. "What if they were unhappy and they met someone who actually understood them? Is that the same as just hooking up with some random person?" "Yes," Morgan said. "If you're unhappy, you leave. You don't start something with someone else while you're still married or committed to someone. That's just cowardly." Jessica's face flushed. "It's not always that simple. There are complicated situations. Family dynamics, financial stuff, timing." I watched this exchange with fascination. Jessica was defending affair partners, defending herself, really, though no one else in the room knew it. "I think emotional cheating is just as bad as physical," I said quietly. "Maybe worse. When someone gives their heart to someone else, when they're planning a future with someone who isn't their partner, when they're sharing things with someone else that should be private to the relationship, That's a deep betrayal. Jessica looked at me, and for a moment, something passed between us. Some flicker of recognition or guilt or defensiveness. But sometimes people fall in love, she said. Even when they don't mean to, even when the timing is wrong. You can't always control who you fall for. No, I agreed. But you can control what you do about it. You can control whether you act on it, whether you lie about it, whether you let it continue. The room had gotten tense. The other women were looking between Jessica and me, sensing some undercurrent they couldn't quite identify. Lee broke the tension. Okay, enough heavy talk. Jess, tell everyone about that guy you're seeing, the mysterious one you won't tell us about. Jessica laughed, but it sounded forced. There's nothing to tell, it's new, I don't want to jinx it. You've been seeing him for months, Kristen protested. And you still won't even tell us his name. What's the big secret? No secret. I just like keeping some things private. Is he married? Morgan asked, joking. But the way Jessica's face changed, just for a second, told me Morgan had hit closer to the truth than she knew. No, Jessica said quickly. God, no. I would never, he's just dealing with some stuff, it's complicated. Everything is always complicated with you, Amanda teased. Just bring him to the next happy hour so we can all meet him and approve. Maybe, Jessica said noncommittally. Anyway, who wants more wine? As the evening went on, I learned more about Jessica's life. She'd grown up in California, moved to our city for college, stayed for work. She was close with her parents, had a younger brother she adored. She loved hiking, trying new restaurants, traveling whenever she could. She seemed like a genuinely good person, which somehow made everything worse. It would be easier if she was awful, if she was some vindictive homewrecker who knowingly pursued married men. But she wasn't. She was nice, friendly, the kind of person who organized get-togethers and remembered your coffee order and sent birthday cards. She'd just fallen for a man who lied to her about his life. Or maybe he'd told her the truth and she'd chosen to believe he'd leave his wife. Either way, she was as much a victim of David's lies as I was. Almost. Around 10, people started leaving. I helped Jessica clean up, carrying wine glasses to the kitchen, throwing away napkins. Thanks for coming, Jessica said, loading the dishwasher. I really enjoyed getting to know you better. You're easy to talk to. Thanks for inviting me. Your friends are great. They are, I'm lucky. She paused. Can I ask you something? Earlier, when we were talking about cheating and betrayal, did I say something wrong? You seemed kind of intense about it. I chose my words carefully. No, you didn't say anything wrong. I have strong feelings about honesty in relationships, about people being upfront about what they want instead of lying. That makes sense. She was quiet for a moment. The family stuff you're dealing with your husband being sick, is it serious? He was in a car accident. He's recovering, but it's been hard. Her face went pale. A car accident, when? About 2 weeks ago. Why? Nothing, that's terrible. I'm sorry you're going through that. But something in her expression had shifted. A realization, a connection she was making. He's going to be okay, I said. It'll just take time. What's your husband's name? She asked suddenly. You never said. This was it, the moment where I could tell her, where I could watch her face as she realized who I was, where I could see her world fall apart. But it wasn't time yet. I needed more. I needed to know everything first. David, I said, watching her carefully. David Chen. The color completely drained from her face. The wine glass in her hand slipped, shattering on the kitchen floor. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God. I bent down to help pick up the broken glass, but she stepped back from me like I was dangerous. You're Sarah Chen, she said, her voice shaking. You're David's wife. Yes. You knew, this whole time. You knew who I was and you came here anyway. Yes. She looked like she might be sick. Why would you do that? I stood up slowly, meeting her eyes. Because I needed to see you. I needed to understand who you were, what you meant to him. I can't. She was struggling to breathe. You need to leave. Jessica. Get out, please, just get out. I grabbed my purse and coat. At the door, I turned back. She was standing in her kitchen, surrounded by the broken wine glass, looking devastated. "For what it's worth," I said quietly, "I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're someone who got lied to just like me." "Don't," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Don't pretend you understand. Don't pretend we're the same." "We're not the same. I'm his wife. But we've both been played by the same man. We've both been lied to. The only difference is I had a wedding ring while he was promising you a future." I left before she could respond, taking the elevator down to the lobby in a daze. That hadn't gone the way I'd planned. I'd meant to keep my identity secret longer to gather more information. But when she'd asked for David's name, I couldn't lie. Some part of me wanted her to know, wanted her to feel the betrayal too. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from David. "Where are you? I'm in pain and need my medication." I checked the time, 9:45. His medication wasn't due until 10:30, but he probably wanted it early. Wanted me home, playing my role. I texted back, "On my way, be there in 20 minutes. Another text came in, this one from Jessica. "Please don't tell him you came here. Please, I need to talk to him first." I stared at the message. She wanted to talk to him first. To what? Warn him, ask him to explain, beg him to choose her. I didn't respond. Let her wonder. Let her panic. Let her text David and create chaos while he was stuck in a hospital bed, dependent on me for everything. When I got home, Linda's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. It was Saturday night and she was checking on her son. I walked in to find her in David's room, adjusting his pillows while he complained about being in pain. "Where have you been?" Linda asked accusingly. "David has been asking for you." "I had dinner with a friend," I said calmly. "I texted David that I'd be out, he knew." "You should have been here. What if there was an emergency?" "There wasn't an emergency, he's fine." I went to the medication cabinet and prepared David's pills. "Here you go, water." "Please," he said, his voice strained. But when I looked at him, really looked at him, I could see he wasn't in that much pain. He was anxious, agitated. His phone was face down on the nightstand and he kept glancing at it. Had Jessica already texted him, already told him about our encounter? "Who did you have dinner with?" Linda asked. "Anyone I know." "Just a new friend. We met at a cafe, she's very nice." "You should have told me you were going out. I would have come to stay with David." "Linda, I appreciate your concern, but I'm allowed to have a life outside of being a nurse. David is recovering well. He doesn't need 24-hour supervision anymore." Her eyes narrowed. "I thought you were committed to his recovery, to this marriage." "I am. That doesn't mean I can't have dinner with a friend." David was watching this exchange nervously. "Mom, it's fine. Sarah deserves a break. She's been amazing." Linda softened slightly. "Of course she has, I just worry." After she left, I got ready for bed. David was quiet, staring at his phone with a frown. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just work stuff." At 10 at night on a Saturday. You know how it is, never stops. But I knew it wasn't work. It was Jessica. She'd texted him, and he was trying to figure out what to say, how to handle this, how to keep his two worlds from colliding. Too late for that. I climbed into the bed I'd set up for myself in the corner of the room. Linda had insisted I sleep in the same room so I could help David during the night if needed. I turned off the light and lay in the darkness, listening to David typing on his phone. My own phone buzzed. Another text from Jessica. "We need to talk tomorrow, please." I turned my phone face down and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, everything would change tomorrow. Sunday morning, I woke to find David already awake, looking exhausted. His eyes were red-rimmed, like he hadn't slept. "Morning," I said. "How are you feeling?" "Tired, sore." "Do you want some breakfast? I can make eggs." "Sure, thanks." While I was in the kitchen, my phone rang. Jessica. I stepped outside onto the back porch to answer. "Hello?" "Sarah," her voice was hoarse from crying. "We need to meet, in person, please." "Okay, when?" Today, as soon as you can. Give me an hour. I made David his breakfast, gave him his medication, and told him I was running to the grocery store. He barely acknowledged me, lost in his own crisis. I drove to the cafe where Jessica and I had first met. She was already there, sitting in the corner, looking nothing like the vibrant woman from last night. She looked broken. I sat down across from her, without ordering anything. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "What did you want to talk about?" "I need to know the truth. Everything. How long have you known about me?" "A few weeks, but I suspected longer." "What did he tell you about me?" "Nothing. He doesn't know I know. I found out on my own. Phone records, credit cards, emails." Her eyes widened. "His emails? You read his emails?" "Every single one, including the ones where he told you he was in an unhappy marriage, where he promised to leave me, where he made plans for your future together." She put her head in her hands. "This is so messed up." "When did it start?" I asked. "Last year, we worked together on a project, started getting coffee, then lunch. It was just friendship at first, but then..." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "I fell in love with him, and he said he loved me too." "Did he tell you he was married?" "Not at first. I found out about 3 months in. I found his wedding ring in his car. He took it off when we were together. When I confronted him, he said the marriage was essentially over. That you two were together for appearances and family reasons, but that there was no love anymore. He said he was planning to leave, but needed to wait for the right time." "And you believed him?" "Yes, I believed him because why would he lie? Why would he spend hours with me, tell me he loved me, make plans with me if it wasn't true?" "Because he wanted both," I said simply. "He wanted the respectable married life with me and the exciting secret life with you. He wanted everything." "I never meant to hurt you," Jessica said desperately. "I know that sounds hollow, but it's true. He made it seem like you didn't care, like the marriage was just paperwork." "Our marriage was real, is real. We bought a house together, we have a life together. And up until a few weeks ago, I thought everything was fine. I thought we were happy." Jessica was crying harder now. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "Does he know we met? That you know who I am?" "I texted him last night. Told him we needed to talk urgently. He's been texting me all night asking what's wrong, but I didn't respond. I wanted to talk to you first." "What are you going to tell him?" "The truth, that I met you, that I can't be part of this anymore, that he needs to figure out his life." I studied her carefully. "Are you in love with him?" "I thought I was, but I don't know anymore. The man I fell in love with was honest, available. The real David is... He's a liar. He lied to you. He lied to me. How can I trust anything he said?" "You can't." We sat in silence for a moment, two women devastated by the same man's selfishness. "What are you going to do?" Jessica asked. "I'm going to destroy him," I said calmly. "Not physically, but his reputation, his career, his perfect life, all of it. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who David Chen really is." "When?" "When I'm ready, when the timing is perfect." "Can I help?" I looked at her in surprise. "Why would you want to help me?" "Because he destroyed us both. Because he deserves to face consequences. Because..." She took a shaky breath. "Because I need this to mean something. I need there to be justice for what he did to both of us." I thought about it. Having Jessica on my side could be powerful. She had evidence I didn't have. She had text messages from his secret phone, photos, voice messages. She could testify to his lies, his promises, his betrayal. "Okay," I said finally. "But not yet. I need more time. David is still recovering, still dependent on me. When the time is right, when he thinks he's gotten away with everything, that's when we strike." "How will I know when?" "I'll contact you. Until then, you need to decide what you want. Do you want to keep seeing him? Keep being the other woman?" "No, God, no, I'm done." "Then you need to break things off. But carefully. We can't let him suspect anything yet." "What do I tell him?" "Tell him you can't do this anymore, that you need space. Keep it vague. Don't mention me, don't mention our meeting, just put distance between you two." She nodded. I can do that. We exchanged numbers, our real numbers this time. Before I left, I turned back to her. Jessica, for what it's worth, you seem like a good person who made a bad choice. What he did to you wasn't fair either. But you're his wife. You're the real victim here. We're both victims. He lied to both of us, used both of us. Don't minimize what he did to you just because I have a ring. I left her there and drove home, my mind racing. Having Jessica as an ally was unexpected, but potentially very useful. Between the two of us, we had a complete picture of David's deception. When I got home, David was in a state. He'd somehow gotten himself into his wheelchair, something he wasn't supposed to do alone yet, and was in the living room, phone in hand, looking panicked. Where have you been? He demanded. You said you were going to the grocery store. That was 2 hours ago. I ran into someone I knew. We grabbed coffee. Why? What's wrong? Nothing, I needed you. I'm here now. Let me help you back to bed. As I wheeled him back to his room, I noticed his hands were shaking. Whatever Jessica had texted him had clearly sent him into a spiral. Good. Over the next few days, I watched David deteriorate emotionally while improving physically. He was healing well, getting stronger, needing less help. But mentally, he was a mess. He was constantly on his phone, texting frantically, then staring at the screen waiting for responses that apparently weren't coming fast enough. Linda noticed too. What's wrong with him? She asked me on Wednesday. He seems so anxious. Maybe he's worried about work, I suggested. About falling behind. Maybe I should talk to him. Make sure he's not letting stress interfere with his recovery. That might help. What I didn't tell Linda was that I knew exactly what was wrong. Jessica had broken up with him. She'd sent me screenshots of their text conversation. Jessica, I can't do this anymore. I need space. I need to figure out what I want. David, what? Where is this coming from? What happened? Jessica, I just need time. Please respect that. David, did someone say something to you? Did you talk to someone? Jessica, this isn't about anyone else. It's about me needing to think. David, I love you. Please don't do this. We can talk about it. Jessica, I need space. David, please. After that, she'd stopped responding to him, and he was falling apart. Part of me felt satisfaction watching him suffer, but another part felt nothing, emptiness. The man I'd loved for 6 years was a stranger. His pain didn't move me anymore. Thursday night, I got a call from my mother. Sweetheart, your father and I want to come visit this weekend. Bring you some meals, help around the house. You must be exhausted. You don't have to do that, Mom. We want to. We've barely seen you since David's accident. Please. Okay, Saturday afternoon. Perfect. We'll be there around 2. After hanging up, I realized my parents were going to meet David post-accident for the first time. They'd see him vulnerable, hurt, needing care. They'd see me playing the devoted wife. What would they think if they knew the truth? Saturday arrived, and my parents showed up with bags of food. Containers of soup, homemade bread, cookies, casseroles that could be frozen and reheated. Oh, honey, my mother said, hugging me tight. You look so tired. I'm okay, Mom, really. My father hugged me too, then went to see David. I watched from the doorway as my dad shook David's hand carefully, mindful of his injuries. How are you holding up, son? Dad asked. Getting better, thanks to Sarah. She's been incredible. She's a good woman. We raised her right. You did. I'm very lucky. My mother joined me in the doorway, watching the men talk. He looks terrible, she whispered. Those bruises. They're fatting. He's healing well, considering. And you, how are you really doing? I looked at my mother. This woman who'd been married to my father for 40 years, who'd never lied to him, never betrayed him, who'd built an honest, simple, happy life. I'm managing, I said. She studied my face. There's something you're not telling me. Not now, Mom, please. She squeezed my hand. When you're ready, but remember, your father and I are always here for you, no matter what. After they left, I found David crying. actually crying, tears running down his face. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Are you in pain?" "No, seeing your parents, seeing how much they love you, how good they are, it made me realize what an idiot I've been." I sat down in the chair next to his bed. "What do you mean?" "I've been so focused on work, on success, on climbing the corporate ladder. I forgot what actually matters. Family, marriage, you." "David, let me finish." "Please," he wiped his eyes. "This accident was a wake-up call. I could have died. And what would I have had to show for it? A nice car? A good job title? None of that matters if you don't have someone to share it with, someone who actually cares about you." The irony was crushing. He was having this revelation while his mistress had just broken up with him. This wasn't about me. It was about him losing Jessica and suddenly remembering I existed. "I want to be better," he continued. "I want to be the husband you deserve, the husband your parents raised you to expect." "That's good, David. I'm glad you're thinking about these things." "I mean it. I know I've been distant. I know I've let work consume me. But things are going to change, I promise." Promises. He was so good at promises. "We'll see," I said quietly. That night I got a text from Jessica. "How much longer? I don't know if I can keep this up. He's texting me constantly, saying he loves me, that he'll leave you, that everything will work out. It's breaking me." I texted back, "Hold on a little longer, I'm almost ready. Has he said anything about me?" "Just that you're taking care of him, that you're being great. He sounds guilty but also trapped, like he wants to leave but can't figure out how." "Perfect. Keep the screenshots of everything he's saying. We'll need them." "Okay, Sarah, thank you for including me in this, for not hatting me." "I don't hate you. I hate what he did to both of us. We're on the same side now." The following week, David had his 6-week checkup. The doctor cleared him to start putting weight on his ribs, said the arm was healing beautifully, upgraded him from the wheelchair to just using a cane for support. "You're doing remarkably well, Mr. Chen," Dr. Patterson said. "I'd say another month and you'll be almost back to normal. You can probably return to work part-time in a few weeks." David was thrilled. Linda was thrilled. Everyone was celebrating his recovery. And I was counting down. Because once David was back on his feet, once he was back to work, once he thought life was returning to normal, that's when I would strike. I'd spent 3 months gathering evidence, building alliances, preparing my case. I had emails, text messages, credit card statements, photos, witness testimony from Jessica. I had proof of everything. I'd also contacted a lawyer, the best divorce attorney in the city, known for representing wives and making sure they got everything they deserved. Her name was Margaret Thornton, and she was a shark. "This is one of the most thoroughly documented cases I've seen," Margaret had said during our consultation, reviewing all my evidence. "You've built an airtight case. Infidelity, financial deception, breach of trust. In this state, that matters. You'll get a very favorable settlement." "I don't just want a settlement," I'd told her. "I want him to lose everything that matters to him, his reputation, his job, the respect of his family and friends. That's not typically within the scope of a divorce proceeding." "I know, the divorce is just part 1. I have plans for the rest." She'd smiled. "I like you, Sarah. You remind me why I do this work." Now, watching David celebrate his recovery, I felt calm. The storm was coming. He just didn't know it yet. That evening, Linda called a family dinner to celebrate David's good checkup. She wanted everyone there, David's father, his brother and sister-in-law, even some extended family I barely knew. "It'll be at our house," Linda said. "You and David just need to show up. It's a celebration of his recovery and of your dedication as his wife. I want to honor both of you." "That's very kind, Linda." "I mean it. You've proven yourself, Sarah. You've shown this family what real commitment looks like." The dinner was scheduled for Saturday night, 6 days away, and I made a decision. That dinner would be when I ended this charade. That dinner, with David's whole family present, would be when I revealed the truth. I called Margaret. "I'm ready. I want to serve him with divorce papers at his family celebration dinner this Saturday." That's dramatic, are you sure? Completely sure. Can you have everything ready? I can, but Sarah, think about this. Once you do this publicly, there's no going back. Wouldn't it be cleaner to do this privately? I've been private for 3 months. I've been quiet and patient and played my role. Now it's time for everyone to see the truth. All right, I'll have the papers ready. But I'm also going to prepare a safety plan. If David or his family react badly, you need to have somewhere to go, someone with you. My parents, I'll tell them what's happening beforehand. They'll support me. Over the next few days, I prepared. I packed a bag with essentials and stored it at my parents' house. I transferred money from our joint account into a personal account Margaret had helped me set up. I organized all my evidence into a presentation, complete with slides and documentation. I also met with Jessica one more time. It's happening Saturday, I told her. I'm going to expose everything at a family dinner. Do you want me there? No, but I want you ready for the fallout. He's going to call you, text you, probably try to get you to corroborate his lies. Don't engage, just forward everything to me. I will, Sarah. I hope you get everything you deserve from this. I will, and so will you, freedom from his lies. Saturday morning, I woke up calm. Today was the day. No more pretending. No more playing the devoted wife. Today, everyone would know the truth. I made David breakfast, helped him get dressed in the nice clothes Linda had requested he wear. He was in a good mood, excited about the dinner. It'll be nice to see everyone, he said. To celebrate being alive. I know I've said this before, but I really am lucky. Lucky to have survived the accident. Lucky to have you. Yes, I said, you are lucky. At 1 o'clock, my parents called. We're here for you, sweetheart, my mother said. We'll be at the dinner, whatever you need. I told them everything the night before, showed them the evidence, explained my plan. My mother had cried. My father had gotten quietly furious in the way he did, all controlled rage. I never liked him, Dad had said. Too smooth, too polished, I should have said something. It's not your fault, I'd told him. But I need you there tonight. I need you both there when I do this. They'd agreed without hesitation. At 6 o'clock, David and I drove to Linda and Richard's house. It was a beautiful home, as always. Perfectly decorated, perfectly maintained. The driveway was full of cars, all the family members arriving to celebrate. Linda greeted us at the door, resplendent in a designer dress, smiling widely. There's our guest of honor. David, you look wonderful. Come in, come in. Everyone's here. The living room was full of people. David's brother Marcus with his wife Stephanie, his sister Claire with her husband Tom, various aunts, uncles, cousins, friends from the country club, even some colleagues from David's work. And in the corner, quiet and separate, my parents. They nodded at me and I nodded back, ready. Dinner was served. A catered affair, of course, with Linda's usual attention to detail. We ate and made small talk. People asked David about his recovery, congratulated him on bouncing back so quickly, praised me for being such a devoted wife. Sarah has been absolutely incredible, David said, raising his glass. I don't know what I would have done without her these past months. She's been my rock. Everyone clinked glasses and smiled at me. I smiled back, bidding my time. After dinner, Linda called for everyone's attention. I want to make a toast, she said, standing at the head of the table. To David for his strength and recovery, and to Sarah who has shown this family what true devotion looks like. Sarah, I want to apologize. I didn't always appreciate you. I didn't always see your value, but these past months have shown me what an incredible woman you are. You are exactly the wife David needs, exactly the daughter-in-law this family needs. Welcome. Truly welcome. Everyone applauded. David was beaming. Linda was smiling at me with genuine warmth for the first time in 6 years. And I stood up. Thank you, Linda, I said. That means a lot. It really does. And you're right, these past months have been revealing. They've shown everyone who I really am, but they've also shown me who David really is. The room went quiet. David's smile faltered. Sarah, he said, what are you doing? I pulled out the folder I'd brought, the one I'd hidden in my bag. I have something to share with everyone, something you all deserve to know. This isn't the time, Linda said, her voice tight. This is a celebration. Actually, it's the perfect time, because you're all here, all the people who matter to David, all the people he's been lying to. David stood up, using his cane for support. Sarah, stop, whatever you think you know. I don't think I know, David. I know. I opened the folder. For the past 8 months, my husband has been having an affair with a 26-year-old woman from his office named Jessica Wung. Gasps around the room. Linda's face went white. Richard stood up. Marcus said, "What the hell?" That's not true, David said desperately. She's lying. I don't know why, but she's lying. Am I? I pulled out the printed emails. Then explain these emails where you tell Jessica that your marriage is just a business arrangement, where you promise to leave me, where you make plans for a future with her. I walked around the table, handing copies to people. Linda, Richard, Marcus, Claire, they all stared at the papers in shock. Explain the credit card charges for hotels in our city, for romantic dinners, for jewelry I never received. I handed out those statements too. Explain the second phone I found in your car, the hundreds of texts and calls to her number. David was shaking his head, backing away. You went through my things, you spied on me. I investigated my husband when I suspected he was cheating, and I was right. That car accident, my father said, standing up. Where was he going? He was coming back from meeting her, from the Riverside Villa Hotel where they'd spent the evening together. He crashed on his way home to me. Linda sank into her chair. No, David wouldn't. He wouldn't do that to this family. I have proof, Linda. I have everything. Emails, texts, financial records, witness testimony. Your son has been living a double life for 8 months, and I've spent the last 3 months documenting every piece of it. I looked at David. He looked destroyed, caught, trapped. I've filed for divorce, I said calmly. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. My lawyer has all the evidence. Given the infidelity and financial deception, I'll be asking for a very favorable settlement. Sarah, please, David said, tears in his eyes. Can we talk about this privately? We're past private conversations. You made this public when you brought another woman into our marriage, when you lied to me every single day, when you let me take care of you after an accident you wouldn't have had if you weren't sneaking around. It's over with her, he said desperately. Whatever you think was happening, it's over. It's you I want. It's always been you. That's a lie. I have emails from 2 weeks ago where you told her you loved her, where you promised her you'd figure out how to leave me. The only reason you're saying this now is because you got caught. Claire spoke up. Is this true, David? Really true? He couldn't speak, just stood there, tears streaming down his face. Oh my God, she said. It is true. This is unacceptable, Richard said, his voice cold. David, how could you do this to Sarah, to this family? I made a mistake, David said. I was confused, I was stupid, but I love Sarah, I love my wife. You have a funny way of showing love, my mother said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was ice. Love doesn't involve betrayal. It doesn't involve lies. Linda was crying now. The vow renewal. I was planning a vow renewal. How could you let me do that while you were? I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I gathered my things. I've said what I needed to say. Mom, Dad, I'm ready to go. My parents stood, flanking me on either side. Wait, Linda said. Sarah, please, this family needs you. David needs you. Don't throw away 6 years over a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, Linda. It was 8 months of deliberate choices, 8 months of lies, and I'm not throwing anything away. David did that when he decided I wasn't enough. I walked toward the door, my parents with me. Behind me, I could hear chaos erupting. Family members yelling at David, Linda sobbing, Richard demanding answers. I didn't look back. We drove to my parents' house in silence. When we got there, I finally broke down. All the strength, all the composure I'd maintained, it crumbled. I sobbed in my mother's arms like a child. You did the right thing, she whispered. You were so brave. I don't feel brave. I feel destroyed. You're not destroyed. You're free. My phone started ringing. David, Linda, Marcus, Claire, numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off. Then I remembered, Jessica. I sent her one text from my laptop. It's done. He knows I know. Everyone knows. She responded immediately. How do you feel? Empty, relieved, sad, angry, everything. You were amazing. You took your power back. We both did. You're free of him now, too. Yes, finally. I slept at my parents' house that night. In my old childhood bedroom, surrounded by memories of who I was before David, before the Chen family, before any of this. And for the first time in months, I slept deeply, because the truth was finally out. The lies were finally exposed, and whatever came next, at least it would be real. The morning after the dinner felt surreal. I woke up in my childhood bedroom, sunlight streaming through the same curtains that had been there since I was 16. For a moment, I forgot everything that had happened. Then it all came crashing back. The dinner, the exposure, David's face as his perfect life shattered in front of everyone who mattered to him. My phone, which I'd finally turned back on, had exploded. 73 missed calls, over 100 text messages, voicemails that kept piling up even as I stared at the screen. Most were from David, others from Linda, Richard, even family members I barely knew. But I wasn't ready to face any of them yet. I went downstairs to find my mother making breakfast. My father was sitting at the kitchen table reading the newspaper, but I could tell he wasn't actually processing the words. He was too tense, too angry. When he saw me, his expression softened. "How'd you sleep, sweetheart?" he asked. "Better than I expected," I admitted, sitting down. "I think I was just exhausted." "You've been carrying this alone for months," my mother said, setting a plate of eggs and toast in front of me. "Of course you're exhausted." I picked at the food, not really hungry but knowing I should eat. My phone buzzed again. Another call from David. I declined it. "He's not going to stop," Dad said. "Men like that, they don't accept consequences. They make excuses, they blame everyone else, they try to manipulate their way out." "I know. That's why I documented everything. He can't talk his way out of this." My mother sat down across from me. "What happens now? Legally, I mean." "Margaret, my lawyer, said the papers will be served today. Then David has 30 days to respond. Given the evidence, she thinks we can push for a very favorable settlement. The house, half his retirement, possibly even spousal support since I gave up career advancement to play the perfect Chen family wife." "Good," Dad said firmly. "You deserve every penny. You gave 6 years to that family, to that marriage. They owe you." Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time it was Linda. I stared at it. Debating, part of me wanted to ignore her like I'd ignored all the others, but another part was curious. What could she possibly have to say? I answered, "Hello, Linda." "Sarah," her voice was strained tight. "We need to talk in person today." "I don't think that's a good idea." "Please, just give me 1 hour. I'm not calling to yell at you or blame you. I just need to speak with you, face to face." Something in her tone made me pause. She didn't sound angry. She sounded desperate, broken even. "Fine, 1 hour, but not at your house, and my father is coming with me." "That's acceptable. There's a cafe on Maple Street, the Corner Brew. Can you meet me there in an hour?" "I'll be there." After hanging up, I looked at my parents. "She wants to meet." "Absolutely not," my father said immediately. "That woman spent 6 years making you feel inferior. Now she wants to manipulate you into forgiving her son. I won't allow it." "Dad, I'm not going to be manipulated, but I want to hear what she has to say. I want to look her in the eyes and see her realize that I'm not the doormat she thought I was." My mother touched Dad's hand. "Let her go. She needs this closure, but you should go with her just in case." An hour later, my father and I walked into the Corner Brew. Linda was already there, sitting in a back corner booth. She looked terrible. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back messily. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her clothes, while still expensive, looked like they'd been slept in. I'd never seen Linda Chen look anything less than immaculate. This was jarring. She stood when she saw us, her eyes red-rimmed. "Sarah, thank you for coming, Mr. Patterson." She nodded at my father. "Linda," my father's voice was cold. We sat down across from her. Linda had ordered coffee but hadn't touched it. Her hands were shaking as she clasped them together on the table. "I don't know where to start," she said quietly. "I've been up all night trying to figure out what to say to you." "Why don't you start with an apology?" my father suggested, his tone sharp. "For 6 years of treating my daughter like she wasn't good enough for your family, for making her feel like she had to earn her place in her own marriage." Linda flinched. "You're right, you're absolutely right. I did treat you that way, Sarah. I was wrong. I was protecting the wrong person." "Protecting," I said. "Is that what you call it?" "I thought I was protecting David, protecting our family's image, our reputation. I thought if I controlled everything, kept everything perfect, nothing bad could happen. But I was blind. I didn't see what my son was becoming, what he was doing to you." "You didn't want to see," I corrected. "You knew things weren't right. You even mentioned noticing distance between us. But you chose to ignore it because acknowledging it would mean admitting your perfect son wasn't perfect." Tears spilled down Linda's cheeks. I know I failed you. After you left last night, Richard and I talked for hours. He said things I needed to hear, about how I've enabled David his whole life, made excuses for him, put family image above everything else, including doing what's right. "Linda, why am I here?" I asked directly. "What do you want?" She took a shaky breath. "I want to ask you not to divorce David." My father started to stand up, but I put my hand on his arm. "Excuse me." "I know how that sounds. I know what he did is unforgivable. But Sarah, he's devastated. He knows he destroyed everything. Last night, after everyone left, he broke down completely. He said he wants to fix this, to make it right. He said he'll do anything, therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. He wants to save your marriage." "Of course he does," I said, my voice cold. "Now that he's been caught, now that his affair is over, now that his mistress dumped him and his family knows the truth, now he suddenly wants to work on our marriage. Where was this commitment 8 months ago? Where was this desire to fix things when he was sending love letters to Jessica, when he was planning to leave me?" "I know the timing is suspicious." "It's not suspicious, Linda. It's transparent. David doesn't want to save our marriage. He wants to save himself. He wants to avoid the consequences of his choices." Linda was crying harder now. "But divorce will destroy him, his reputation, his career." "He should have thought about that before he decided to have an affair with a subordinate at his company," I interrupted. "Did you know that's against company policy? That when HR finds out, and they will find out, he could lose his job." Her face went pale. "You wouldn't." "I wouldn't what? Tell the truth. Report an ethics violation. Why should I protect him, Linda? Why should I care about his reputation when he didn't care about our marriage?" "Because you're better than this. Better than revenge." I almost laughed. "This isn't revenge. Revenge would be irrational, emotional, destructive. This is justice. This is consequences. This is me refusing to be the silent, forgiving wife who sweeps everything under the rug to maintain appearances." "But the family." "The family," I stood up. "I don't care about the family anymore, Linda. For 6 years, I tried to be good enough for your family. I changed who I was, gave up parts of myself, played whatever role you needed me to play. And it was never enough. I was never enough. Until I became the perfect nurse during David's recovery. That's when you finally accepted me. Not for who I was, but for what I could do for your son." "That's not fair." "It's completely fair. You said it yourself at that dinner. You didn't appreciate me until I proved myself through service, through sacrifice. Well, I'm done sacrificing. I'm done proving myself. I'm done with all of it." Linda reached across the table, grabbing my hand. "Please, Sarah, I'm begging you, don't file for divorce. Give him another chance. Give us all another chance. I'll make sure David goes to therapy. I'll make sure he treats you right. I'll change too. I'll be better. Just please don't destroy this family." I pulled my hand away. "I'm not destroying anything, Linda. David destroyed it. He made choices that led to this. And now he and you have to live with those consequences." "But people make mistakes. Marriages survive infidelity. With work, with commitment, you could rebuild. No, my voice was firm. We couldn't, because I don't want to. I don't want to spend the next year or 2 or 10 wondering if he's cheating again, checking his phone, tracking his location, living in constant suspicion. I don't want to be married to someone I can't trust, someone who looked me in the eyes every day and lied, someone who let me take care of him after an accident he got into while sneaking around behind my back. He loves you. He loves what I represent: stability, respectability, the perfect wife who makes him look good, but he doesn't love me. If he loved me, he wouldn't have done this. My father stood up, putting his arm around me. This conversation is over. Sarah has made her decision. You need to respect it. But Linda wasn't finished. What if I told you that David has written you a letter, explaining everything, apologizing, pouring his heart out? Would you at least read it? No. What if he agreed to give you everything in the divorce? The house, the money, everything. Would you agree to keep this quiet? Not report him to his company, not make it public beyond the family? And there it was, the real reason for this meeting. Linda didn't want me to reconsider the divorce. She wanted to negotiate, to minimize the damage, to protect the Chen family reputation above all else. So that's what this is really about, I said. You're not here to convince me to save my marriage. You're here to convince me to keep quiet about why it's ending. Linda had the grace to look ashamed. I'm trying to protect my son. Your son is 40 years old, Linda. He doesn't need protection. He needs accountability, and I'm going to make sure he gets it. You're going to ruin his life over one mistake. 8 months, I interrupted. 8 months of deliberate, calculated choices. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. That's who he is. He can change. Maybe he can, but he's not going to change for me. We're done. I turned to leave, but Linda called out one more time. What about grandchildren? I stopped, turning back. What? We always talked about you and David having children. I was looking forward to being a grandmother. If you divorce him, that's gone. You're taking that future away from all of us. The audacity of it stunned me. Are you seriously trying to guilt me into staying married by bringing up hypothetical children? I'm just saying, there's more at stake here than just you and David. There's the whole future of this family. Linda, David, and I never even discussed having children seriously because he was too busy building his career and apparently maintaining a secret relationship. But even if we had, even if I was pregnant right now, I would still divorce him, because I would never want to raise a child in a marriage built on lies. My father guided me toward the door. Behind us, Linda was sobbing openly, but I didn't look back. I'd spent 6 years looking back, second-guessing myself, trying to measure up. I was done. In the car, my father was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'm proud of you, Sarah, so incredibly proud. For what? Ending my marriage, making a scene. For standing up for yourself, for refusing to be manipulated. That took real strength. I don't feel strong. I feel angry and hurt and tired. That's okay. You're allowed to feel all of that. But don't let anyone, not David, not Linda, not anyone, make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. You deserve better than what they gave you. When we got back to my parents' house, there was a car in the driveway I didn't recognize. My mother met us at the door, looking worried. There's someone here to see you, she said quietly. I told her she could wait in the living room. Who? Jessica Wang. My stomach dropped. I looked at my father, who frowned. Want me to tell her to leave? No, I said slowly. I'll talk to her, but stay close. Of course. I walked into the living room to find Jessica sitting on the couch, looking as wrecked as Linda had. She stood up when she saw me. Sarah, I'm so sorry for coming to your parents' house. I found the address online. I needed to see you, to talk to you. About what? About David. He's been calling me nonstop since last night. Dozens of calls, hundreds of texts. He's falling apart. And you came here to tell me that because he's saying things that I think you need to know, things about his plans, about what he's going to do. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. What kind of things? Jessica pulled out her phone. He's texting me that he's going to fight the divorce, that he's going to claim you had an affair, that you're mentally unstable, that you fabricated evidence. He's saying his family has lawyers, money, connections, that he can make this really hard for you. I felt cold. Forward those to me. I already did, to your email. But Sarah, there's more. He also texted that he's going to claim I seduced him, that I pursued him aggressively and he tried to resist, but I was relentless. He's planning to make me the villain in this, to say I'm a home wrecker who went after a married man. That's a lie. I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. But his family has power. They have money. If he tells that story convincingly enough, who's going to believe the 26-year-old employee over the respected senior manager? She was shaking. I could see the fear in her eyes. She'd come to me not just to warn me, but because she was scared. David was planning to destroy both of us to save himself. Do you still have all the texts, the emails, everything where he pursued you, told you he loved you, made promises? I asked. Yes, all of it. Then he can't make that story stick. We have proof, documented proof of the entire relationship from both sides. He can try to spin this however he wants, but the evidence is the evidence. But his family. His family has money, yes, but they also have a reputation to protect. If this turns into a public battle where all the details come out, where everyone sees the emails and texts and proof of what David did, the Chen family name gets dragged through the mud. Linda doesn't want that. She just offered to give me everything in the divorce if I agreed to keep it quiet. Jessica's eyes widened. Really? Really? Which means we have leverage. They want this to go away quietly. We can use that. How? I thought for a moment. I need to call my lawyer, get her advice. But Jessica, you need to make a decision. Are you willing to go on record with everything? If David tries to claim you seduced him, are you prepared to show the truth? Yes, she said without hesitation. I'm tired of hiding, tired of being scared. He lied to both of us, made promises to both of us. If he wants to make me the villain, I'll show everyone who the real villain is. Good. Then we work together. We show a united front. We make it clear that we're not going to be silenced or blamed or manipulated. After Jessica left, I called Margaret. I told her about both conversations, Linda's attempt to negotiate and David's threats to Jessica. This is actually good for us, Margaret said. If David is threatening to claim you fabricated evidence, that shows consciousness of guilt. And if he's trying to blame Jessica, that gives us another witness who can testify to his pattern of manipulation. Let him threaten. Let him make plans. We have everything documented. We're ready for whatever he tries. What about his claim that I'm mentally unstable? Based on what? You documented your husband's affair methodically and calmly over 3 months. You exposed it in a controlled manner with evidence. That's not instability. That's intelligence. Any psych eval would show you're completely sound. Plus, we have your parents, your work history, everything showing you're a rational, stable person. His claim won't hold up. So what's next? The papers will be served this afternoon. David has 30 days to respond. Given what you've told me about the family wanting to keep this quiet, I expect we'll get a settlement offer within the week. They'll want to make this go away. The question is, what do you want? I thought about it. What did I want? I want the house, I said finally. I want half of everything we accumulated during the marriage. I want compensation for the career advancement I gave up to play the perfect wife. And I want him to admit, in writing, that the marriage ended due to his infidelity. That last one might be the hardest. Admitting fault in writing affects his reputation permanently. Good, then that's my price for keeping the details private. He admits it was his fault, I get a fair settlement, and I don't send the evidence to his HR department or post it on social media. But if he fights me, if he tries to drag this out or make me the villain, then everything goes public. Every email, every text, every receipt. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who David Chen is. I'll draft the terms and send them to his lawyer. Let's see how badly they want to protect the family name. That evening, I finally listened to one of David's voicemails. Just one. I needed to hear what he had to say. Sarah, please, please call me back. I know you're angry. I know I destroyed everything. But I love you. I love you so much. This thing with Jessica, it wasn't real. It was just, I don't know what it was, a midlife crisis. Stupidity. But it's over. It's been over. I ended it weeks ago. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. Please just talk to me. Let me explain. Let me make this right. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, I'll quit my job if that's what you want. Just please don't give up on us. Don't give up on 6 years. Please, Sarah, I'm begging you. I love you. I need you. Please. He sounded destroyed, broken. Part of me, a very small part, felt sorry for him. This was the man I'd loved. The man I'd built a life with. Hearing him in so much pain should have moved me. But it didn't, because I knew the truth. He didn't love me. He loved the idea of me. He loved having a wife waiting at home while he explored other options. He loved the stability I provided while he chased excitement elsewhere. And now that he'd lost both, lost Jessica and was losing me, he was panicking. But this wasn't love. This was fear. Fear of consequences, of being alone, of facing what he'd done. I deleted the voicemail and blocked his number. The next morning, Margaret called with news. David's lawyer reached out already. They want to negotiate. That was fast. The family is motivated. Linda apparently had a conversation with Richard last night where she convinced him that a public battle would destroy David's career and tarnish the family name irreparably. They're willing to meet most of your terms. Most. They're balking at the written admission of fault. They want to settle with no-fault terms. Both parties agreeing the marriage is irretrievably broken, no blame assigned. No, that's non-negotiable. If he wants to avoid me going public with everything, he admits fault. Sarah, I have to advise you that pushing this point might. I don't care. This is the hill I'm willing to die on. For 6 years, I was made to feel like I wasn't enough, like I was the problem in our marriage. I'm not letting him walk away from this with a clean conscience and a no-fault divorce. He admits what he did, or everyone finds out anyway. All right, I'll tell them, but be prepared for them to call your bluff. It's not a bluff. I'll post every email on social media if I have to. I'll send everything to his boss, his colleagues, everyone at that company. I'll make sure the whole world knows David Chen is a liar and a cheat. Okay, I'll make that very clear to them. An hour later, she called back. They've agreed to your terms. Full settlement, the house, financial compensation, and a written admission that the marriage ended due to his infidelity and breach of trust. In exchange, you agree to keep all evidence private and not pursue any action against him professionally. I felt a weight lift off my chest. They agreed. Yes, Linda apparently told David he had no choice, that if this goes public, he loses his job, his reputation, everything. Better to admit it privately in legal documents than have it exposed publicly. When can we finalize this? I'm drafting the settlement agreement now. If both parties sign within the week, we can have this wrapped up in less than 2 months. Unusually fast for a divorce, but given the circumstances and their motivation to end this quickly, we can expedite everything. After hanging up, I sat in my childhood bedroom and cried. Not sad tears, relieved tears. It was really happening. I was getting out. I was getting justice. I was getting my life back. My mother knocked softly and came in, sitting beside me on the bed. Good news. The divorce settlement. They agreed to everything. I'm free, Mom. I'm actually going to be free. She held me while I cried, stroking my hair like she used to when I was little. I'm so sorry you had to go through this, but I'm so proud of how you handled it. You didn't let them break you. I feel broken. You feel hurt, that's different. Broken means you can't function, can't move forward, but look at you. You investigated, you planned, you executed, you stood up for yourself. That's not broken. That's strong. I just want it to be over. I want to stop thinking about David, stop dealing with his family, stop reliving all of it. Soon, very soon, and then you can start rebuilding. Figure out who Sarah is when she's not trying to be Mrs. Chen. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was a photo of me and Jessica at the cafe where we'd first met. Someone had seen us together. Someone had taken a picture. The text that followed said, "Interesting friendship you have there. Does David know his wife and his mistress have been meeting? Makes a person wonder who's manipulating who in this situation." It was unsigned, but I had a sinking feeling I knew who it was from. Someone in the Chen family was watching me, and they were planning something. The war wasn't over yet,